Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayantiri nashtaprayeshu vadreshu nityam bhaktasi bhagavati uttam shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 12, Vritrasura's Glorious Death, text number 12 onwards. So as we discussed yesterday, how Vritrasura and Indra, they started fighting, and Indra cut off one of the hands of Vritrasura, and the trident that he released, Indra, and just cut it to pieces with this thunderbolt. But then Vritrasura released another weapon, and Indra's trident, or Indra's thunderbolt, he fell on the ground, and Indra was morose and he was lamenting, like lost all his heart to fight. And Vritrasura is trying to encourage him to fight and kill him. Text 12. Avidvanev venam atmanam manyate anisham ishvaram bhutah srijati bhutani graste tani tah swayam. A foolish, senseless person cannot understand the Supreme Personality of God. Although always dependent, he falsely thinks himself the Supreme. If one thinks according to one's previous fruitive activities, one's material body is created by the father and mother, and the same body is annihilated by another agent, as another animal is devoured by a tiger. This is not proper understanding. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself creates and devours the living beings through other living beings. According to the conclusion of the philosophy known as Karma Mimamsa, one's karma or previous fruitive activity is the cause of everything, and therefore there is no need to work. Those who arrive at this conclusion are foolish. When a father creates a child, he does not do so independently. He is induced to do so by the Supreme Lord. As the Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya Chaham Priti Sannivishta. I am in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Unless one receives dictation from the Supreme Personality of God, who sits within everyone's heart, one cannot be induced to create anything. Therefore, the father and mother are not the creators of the living entity. According to the living entity's karma, fruitive activities, he is put into the semen of the father, who injects a living entity into the womb of the mother. Then, according to the body of the mother and father, yatha yoni yatha bija, the living entity accepts a body and takes birth to suffer or enjoy. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is the original cause of one's birth. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is a cause of one's being killed. No one is independent. Everyone is dependent. The true conclusion is that only independent person is a Supreme Personality of God. Rest, everybody is dependent on him and always dependent. But under the influence of illusion, Maya, we think we are independent. We think we are the controllers. And Maya just keeps on slapping us. That's in Bengali, there's a saying, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written that Krishna bhuliya jeev bhog vancha kare, nikatastha maya tare jhapatiya dare. Jhapatiya, nikatastha, nikat, very closely Maya is standing there and she is slapping the living entity who's thinking, I can enjoy this material. We are completely bound up, conditioned, and fully dependent upon the Lord. Ayuh Shri Kirtirashwaryam Mashisha Purushasya Bhavanti Evahi Tatkale Yatha Nechor Viparyaya. Just as a person not inclined to die must nonetheless give up his longevity, opulence, fame, and everything else at the time of death. So, at the appointed time of victory, one can gain all these when the Supreme Lord awards them by his mercy. It is not good to be falsely puffed up, saying that by one's own effort one has become opulent, learned, beautiful, and so on. All such good fortune is achieved through the mercy of the Lord. From another point of view, no one wants to die and no one wants to be poor or ugly. Therefore, why does the living entity, against his will, receive such unwanted troubles? It is due to the mercy or chastisement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that one gains or loses everything material. No one is independent. Everyone is dependent on the mercy or chastisement of the Supreme Lord. There is a common saying in Bengal that the Lord has 10 hands. This means that he has control everywhere, in the 8 directions and up and down. If he wants to take everything away from us with his 10 hands, we cannot protect anything with our 2 hands. Similarly, if he wants to bestow benedictions upon us with his 10 hands, we cannot factually receive them all with our 2 hands. In other words, the benedictions exceed our ambitions. The conclusion is that even though we do not wish to be separated from our possessions, sometimes the Lord forcibly takes them away from us. And sometimes he showers such benedictions upon us that we are unable to receive them all. Therefore, either in opulence or in distress, we are not independent. Everything is dependent on the sweet will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the right understanding. If we think that I am intelligent and by my efforts I have made this money or completed this project or achieved this whatever achievements, and whether in the sports or in industry or this or that, this is the illusion actually. Of course, effort has to be there, no doubt. But without the mercy of the Lord, nobody can achieve anything. And the thing is, when one achieves something, some position in the society, and especially these days, it's basically if somebody has made money, means he is successful. He is the most intelligent person. People will line up to hear him, to hear about his struggles, experiences, and there will be books written about him. Even if whatever he says is all nonsense, there'll be people lined up, paying to just have a glimpse of him, just to shake hands with him or her, whatever. But that's not what should be the basis of our association actually. It should be if somebody is devoted. Yes, others, good. Somebody has achieved something, somebody is successful, it's good. He has worked hard and he has had the mercy of the Lord. Yes, great. But that doesn't make him the most intelligent person in the world. But you see these days, TV shows and on the internet, everywhere these kind of people are, whether they're movie stars or sports people or the industrialists or whatever, politicians. But people are lining up to listen. But this is what Kali Yuga is. They don't have 99% of the time. They have no knowledge of or no faith in the scriptures. And whatever they say, that becomes a headline, and people want to follow. And they don't want to follow because, just like that. They want to follow it because they think by following these words, I can also make money, or I can also be successful. That's the whole idea. If somebody tells them, it's not that just by listening to it, you will become successful. So then nobody will follow them. But they think, he's such a successful man, and any word coming out of his mouth is like a Brahma Vakya, and that's the ultimate goal of life, whatever he says. But it's not. Whatever the scripture says, that's ultimate. And here it is, Prabhupada is saying, the Lord has, it is said in Bengal that Lord has 10 hands, although he has thousands of hands. If he wants to give by those hands, how much we can take with our 2 hands? And if he wants to take away with those 10 or thousands of hands, how much we can protect? Nothing. So an intelligent person, he just pleases the Lord and waits for his mercy. That's all. Whatever he gives is his mercy, actually. But the karmis, they don't follow this logic. Tasmat kirti yashasur jaya pajaya jayorapi samasyat sukh dukkhagyam mrityu jivitiyos tatha. Since everything is dependent on the supreme will of the personality of Godhead, one should be equipoised in fame and defamation, victory and defeat, life and death. In their efforts, in their effects represented as happiness and distress, one should maintain oneself in equilibrium without anxiety. So that is most difficult to achieve, actually. Being equipoised in fame and defamation. The same thing Krishna tells Arjuna also. Just have some dukkha sukham dhiram so amritatvaya kalpate. Become a dhira, some dukkha sukham. Means have equanimity in both sukh and dukkha. It's very difficult to achieve that. And only a person who has full faith in the Lord can achieve that. Because he knows my Lord is doing everything. Not just he is equipoised, he is happy in every case. He's always blissful. He's not worried about anything. Because he knows Krishna will take care of everything. Why I have to worry? What I have to worry about? It's just like if there is a very rich man and he has a mansion and he has a team, just like if just to set an example, to understand an example, Mukesh Ambani. Now his house is a huge house. I don't know how many stories are there. Big house and so many people to maintain that place, to take care of day-to-day operations. So all these servants, they just have to do their job nicely, properly, and very deliberately, sincerely, honestly. And they all will be taken care of by Mukesh Ambani. They don't have to worry about where is food is going to come from, where I'm going to sleep, or this or that. Everything is there. Mukesh Ambani has to work hard to make money, or to run the businesses, to make sure everything is arranged for that house to be taken care of. But all the servants, they don't have to worry about anything. All they have to do is do their duties honestly, properly. That's it. So similarly, a servant of the Lord, a devotee of the Lord, he knows my Lord will be running this whole operation in the whole universe. He will take care of. He is taking care of everything. And in fact, my Lord is so nice that he himself doesn't have to do anything. He tells his energies to take care of everything. And the energies work under the order of the Lord. Maya Dakshin Prakriti, Suyate Sacharacharam. So devotee or a servant of Lord, he has no anxiety for himself. He knows my Lord will take care of me. All I have to do is do my services properly. And the services given to us are, okay, you chant and you preach and do some service. That's all. So that kind of person can only remain equipoised, because he's not worried about victory or defeat. He's only worried about serving the Lord. The rest, everything is in Krishna's hand. Sattam rajastam iti prakrtirnatmano gunam tatra sakshinam atmanam yo vedasana badhyate. One who knows that the three qualities, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are not qualities of the soul, but qualities of material nature, and who knows that the pure soul is simply an observer of the actions and reactions of these qualities, should be understood to be a liberated person. He is not bound by these qualities. So one who has gone above these three modes, he should be understood to be a liberated person. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kamshati. One who is transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. When one attains self-realization, the Brahmbhuta stage, one knows that whatever happens during his life is due to the contamination of the modes of material nature. The living being, the pure soul, has nothing to do with these modes. In the midst of the hurricane of the material world, everything changes very quickly. But if one remains silent and simply observes the actions and reactions of the hurricane, he is understood to be liberated. The real qualification of the liberated soul is that he remains Krishna conscious, undisturbed by the actions and reactions of the material energy. Such a liberated person is always jubilant. He never laments or aspires for anything, since everything is supplied by the Supreme Lord. The living entity, being fully dependent on him, should not protest or accept anything in terms of his personal sense gratification. Rather, he should receive everything as a mercy of the Lord and remain steady in all circumstances. So these are the real qualities of devotees. Those who are surrendered, fully surrendered. They are not disturbed by the actions and reactions of the material energy. When Prabhupada was giving lectures in 71, he was in India, and he was in Delhi at that time, and he was giving lectures. And that time there was this war was about to start between India and Pakistan on the Bangladesh front, and there was anxiety all over India. What is going to happen? And I'm pretty sure in Pakistan also, There must be anxiety, but since he was in Delhi and devotees were, oh Prabhupada, what will happen if Pakistan attacks us? And Prabhupada very calmly he was sitting there and he was saying, and he said, if Pakistanis they drop bombs on us, we'll see the bombs coming down as incarnation of Krishna. Krishna says, Mrityu Sarva Harashcham. And just imagine, Krishna is coming with those bombs. That's it. So we die, we die. And he said, we will just chant Hare Krishna. That's all we have to do. But it takes lots of realizations to come to that level, lots of bhakti. How many of us can remain calm even in this coronavirus pandemic? It is the actions and reactions of the material energy only. That's all it is. It is difficult to come to that level. That's a Brahma Bhuta Prasanna, the Brahma Bhuta stage, the transcendental stage. It's not that easy to attain. We have to work hard. We have to work hard. We have to understand the philosophy and have full faith in the Lord. Pashyam mam nirjitam shatru vrikna yudh bhujam hriday ghatmanam yatha shakti tav prana jihirshaya. Oh, my enemy, just look at me. I have already been defeated, for my weapon and arm have been cut to pieces. You have already overwhelmed me, but nonetheless, with a desire to kill you, I'm trying my best to fight. I'm not at all morose, even under such adverse conditions. Therefore, you should give up your moroseness and continue fighting. So, Dhritarashtra saying, you have cut off my arm and my weapon. I'm not morose, I'm not lamenting, I'm not sad, I haven't given up fighting. Why are you giving up fighting? Vritrasura was so great and powerful that in effect he was acting as a spiritual master of Indra. Although Vritrasura was on the verge of defeat, he was not at all affected. He knew that he was going to be defeated by Indra and he voluntarily accepted that. But since he was supposed to be Indra's enemy, he tried his best to kill Indra. Thus he performed his duty. One should perform his duty under all circumstances, even though one may know what the result will be. But still, he should do his duty. And Indra was forgetting his duty. And this is what Vritrasura was reminding him. And that's why Prabhupada saying he was acting as a spiritual master of Indra. Pranagal ho ayam samar ishvaksho vahanasana atrana gyayate amushya jayo amushya parajaya. Oh, my enemy, consider this battle a gambling match in which our lives are the stakes. The arrows are the dice and the animals acting as carriers are the game board. No one can understand who will be defeated and who will be victorious. It all depends on providence. But in this game, when they were fighting, it was ascertained that Indra is going to be victorious. But still, somehow he was having doubts. Shri Shukuvacha, Indra Vritra Vacha Shrutva Gata Likam Pujayat Grihit Vajraha Praha Sanstam Aha Gat Vismaya. Shukdev Goswami said, hearing the straightforward, instructive words of Vritrasura, King Indra praised him and again took the thunderbolt in his hand. Without bewilderment or duplicity, he then smiled and spoke to Vritrasura as follows. King Indra, the greatest of the demigods, was astonished to hear the instructions of Vritrasura, who was supposed to be a demon. He was struck with wonder that a demon could speak so intelligently. Then he remembered great devotees like Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, who had been born in the families of demons and thus he came to his senses. Even so-called demons sometimes have exalted devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Indra smiled reassuringly at Dhritarashtra. Next line. Indra vacha aho danav siddho asi yasya te matari rishi bhakta sarvatman atmanam suhridam jagadishwaram. And see, here Shukdev Goswami is saying Indra vacha. And Vritrasura, when he was speaking, he wrote Shri Vritra vacha. So what a distinction. He was an Asura, but Shukdev Goswami says he's Shri Vritra vacha. And for Indra, he's a devotee, but Shukdev Goswami did not say Shri Indra vacha. Indra said, "Oh great demon, I see by your discrimination and endurance in devotion service, despite your dangerous position, that you are a perfect devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul and friend of everyone. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, established in Krishna consciousness, one never departs from the truth. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. An unalloyed devotee is never disturbed by any kind of trying circumstance." Indra was surprised to see that Vritrasura, undisturbed, was fixed in devotion service to the Lord. For such a mentality is impossible for a demon. However, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, anyone can become an exalted devotee. An unalloyed devotee is sure to return home back to Godhead. So he was appreciating the devotional qualities in Vritrasura. Bhavan Tarshin Mayam Vaishnavim Janmohini Yad Vihaya Suram Bhavam Mahapurushatam Gata. You have surmounted the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu. Because of this liberation, you have given up the demonic mentality and have attained the position of an exalted devotee. So only a devotee can appreciate the devotional qualities in others. Lord Vishnu is a Mahapurusha. Therefore, one who becomes a Vaishnava attains the position of a Mahapurusha. This position was attained by Maharaj Parikshit. It is said in the Padma Puran that the distinction between a demigod and a demon is that a demigod is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, whereas a demon is just the opposite. Vritrasura was considered a demon, but actually he was more than qualified as a devotee or Mahapurusha. If one somehow becomes a devotee of the Supreme Lord, whatever his position, he can be brought to the position of a perfect person. This is possible if an unalloyed devotee tries to serve the Lord by delivering him in this way. Therefore, Shukdev Goswami says in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kirat, Hoon, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abhir, Shumbha, Yavana, and members of the caste races, and even others addicted to sinful acts, can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, for he is the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Anyone can be purified if he takes shelter of a pure devotee and molds his character according to the pure devotee's direction. Then even if one is a Kirat, Andhra, Pulind or whatever, he can be purified and elevated to the position of a Mahapurusha. So here Prabhupada said, Lord Vishnu is Mahapurusha and his devotee becomes Mahapurusha. And that's what Indra is telling Vritrasura, that you have become that. Khalu idam mahad ashcharyam yad rajah prakrite stava vasudeve bhagavati sattvatmani drida matihi. O Vritrasura, demons are generally conducted by the mode of passion. Therefore, what a great wonder is that although you are a demon, you have adopted the mentality of a devotee and have fixed your mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, who is always situated in pure goodness. King Indra wondered how Vritrasura could have been elevated to the position of an exalted devotee. As for Prahlad Maharaj, he was initiated by Narad, and therefore it was possible for him to become a great devotee, although he was born in a family of demons. For Vritrasura, however, Indra could not detect such causes. Therefore, he was struck with wonder that Vritrasura was such an exalted devotee that he could fix his mind without deviation upon the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, Vasudeva. So Indra was surprised. How come Vritrasura is such a great devotee? So what is the history here? What is the story here? Yasya bhaktir bhagavati haro nishreyaseshvare vikridato amritam bodho kim shudra khatkodakah. A person fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord Hari, the Lord of the highest auspiciousness, swims in the ocean of nectar. For him, what is the use of water in small ditches? Vritrasura has formally prayed, I do not want the facilities for happiness on Brahmaloka, Swargaloka, or even Dhruvaloka, not to speak of this earth or the lower planets. I simply want to return home back to Godhead. This is a determination of a pure devotee. A pure devotee is never attracted to any exalted position within this material world. He simply wants to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like the inhabitants of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani, the gopis, Krishna's father and mother, Krishna's friends and Krishna's servants. He wants to associate with Krishna's atmosphere of Vrindavan's beauty. These are the highest ambitions of a devotee of Krishna. Devotees of Lord Vishnu may aspire for a position in Vaikuntha Loka, but a devotee of Krishna never aspires even for the facilities of Vaikuntha. He wants to return to Golok Vrindavan and associate with Lord Krishna in his eternal pastimes. Any material happiness is like water in a ditch, whereas a spiritual happiness, eternally enjoyed in the spiritual world, is like an ocean of nectar in which a devotee wants to swim. Wow. And that's why Rupa Goswami wrote his book, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, and Prabhupada translated as Nectar of Devotion. But Rupa Goswami named it Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Sindhu, it's an ocean of nectar of devotion. And Baldev Vidyabhushan, he has written his commentary on Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, and he called it Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu Bindu. It's just a drop of that ocean, what Rupa Goswami has described. And what Prabhupada has written, of course, he has given wonderful commentary, but it would be like just a particle of that drop of the ocean that Rupa Goswami is trying to describe. So how deep is that ocean? Nobody knows. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the Shikshashtakam, Anand Ambudhi Vardhanam, this devotional service, especially the chanting of the holy names, is like an ocean of bliss. Anand Ambudhi. Ambudhi means ocean, ocean of bliss, and which is always increasing. Vardhanam. Now, good luck in understanding the depth or the length or the width, breadth of this ocean. Nobody can. Nobody can. So all we have to do is just enjoy this ocean of nectar. And it's an ocean of nectar, Amrit. Shri Shukuvacha, iti Bruvanam Anyo Anyam, Dharma Jigyasya Nripa, Yuyudhate Mahavirya, Indra Vritro Yudhampati. Shri Shukdev Goswami said, Vritrasura and King Indra spoke about devotional service even on the battlefield. And then as a matter of duty, they again began fighting. My dear king, both of them were great fighters and were equally powerful. So even on the battlefield, they were discussing devotional service. That is the beauty of devotees. Avidya parigam vritya karshnaya samarindam indraya prahanoda ghoram vama hasten marisha. O Maharaj Parikshit, Vritrasura, who was completely able to subdue his enemy, took his iron club, whirled it around and aimed it at Indra and then threw it at him with his left hand because his right hand was cut off. Satu Vritrasya Parigham Karam cha Karbhopamam Chicheda Yugpada Devo Vajrena Shatparvana. With his thunderbolt named the Shatparvan, Indra simultaneously cut to pieces Vritrasura's club and his remaining hand. So just imagine, both the hands were cut off. Dorbhyam utkrit mulabhyam babho raktasravo asuraha chinna paksho yatha gotraha khad bhrishto vajrina hataha. Vritrasura, bleeding profusely, his two arms cut off at their roots, means he was cut off at the shoulder, looked very beautiful, like a flying mountain whose wings have been cut to pieces by Indra. It appears from the statement of this verse that sometimes there are flying mountains and that their wings are cut off by the thunderbolt of Indra. Vritrasura's huge body resembled such a mountain. So Indra has cut off the wings of the mountains, because the mountains, when they would fly, they would land at any place and they would crush people under their weight and they would just destroy the agriculture or the villages. So Indra got angry at this mountain and he cut off their wings. Don't fly anymore, can't fly. Mahaprano Mahaviryo Mahasarpa Evatvipam Kritva Dharam Hanu Bhumo Datyo Divya Uttaram Hanu Nabho Gambhir Vaktrena Leli Hol Bana Jivaya Dashtrabi Kal Kalpa Bhera Grasan Ev Jagatrayam Ati Matra Mahakaya Akshipan Starasa Girin Girirata Padachari Padbhyam Nirjaraya Mahim Jagrasa Samasadya Vajrinam Sahvahanam. Vritrasura was very powerful in physical strength and influence. He placed his lower jaw on the ground and his upper jaw in the sky. Wow, how big he must be. His mouth became very deep like the sky itself and his tongue resembled a large serpent. With his fearful, death-like teeth, he seemed to be trying to devour the entire universe. Thus, assuming a gigantic body, the great demon Vritrasura shook even the mountains and began crushing the surface of the earth with his legs, as if he were the Himalayas walking about. He came before Indra and swallowed him, and Aravat, his carrier, just as a big python might swallow an elephant. So he swallowed Indra along with Aravat. Vritragrastam tamalokya saprajapataya sura kashtam iti nirvinach chukrushu samaharshaya. When the demigods, along with Brahma, other Prajapatis, and other great saintly persons saw that Indra had been swallowed by the demon, they became very morose. Alas, they lamented, what a calamity, what a calamity. Nigirno api asurendrena namamaro daram gata mahapurusha sannadho yoga maya balena cha. The protective armor of Narayan, which Indra possessed, was identical with Narayan himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Protected by that armor and by his own mystic power, King Indra, all those followed by Vritrasura, did not die within the demon's belly. Bhitva Vajren Tatkukshim Nishkramya Balabhita Vibhu Uchakarta Shira Shatrur Giri Shuram Ivojasaha. With his thunderbolt, King Indra, who was also extremely powerful, pierced through Vritrasura's abdomen and came out. Indra, the killer of the demon Bala, then immediately cut off Vritrasura's head, which was as high as the peak of a mountain. Vajrastu tat kandharam ashuvega krintan samantat parivartamana nepatiyat tavad gar harganena yo jyotisham ayane vartra hatye. Although the thunderbolt revolved around Vritrasura's neck, just appreciate that. It revolved around Vritrasura's neck with great speed, separating his head from his body, took one complete year, 360 days, the time in which the sun, moon, and other luminaries complete a northern and southern journey. Then at the suitable time for Vritrasura to be killed, his head fell to the ground. So it took 1 year for the thunderbolt to go around his neck and kill him and cut off his neck. So we can't even imagine how big his neck must be. And the thunderbolt was revolving with great speed. Tada chakhe dundubhyo vine dur gandharva siddha samharshi sangha vartra gling gostam abhishtavana mantrar muda kusumer abhyavarshan. When Vritrasura was killed, the Gandharvas and Siddhas and the heavenly planets beat kettle drums in jubilation. With Vedic hymns, they celebrated the prowess of Indra, the killer of Vritrasura, praising Indra and showering flowers upon him with great pleasure. Vritrasya deha nishkrantam atma jyotir arindam pashyatam sarva devanam malokam samapatyat. O King Parikshit, subduer of enemies, the living spark then came forth from Vritrasura's body and returned home back to Godhead. While all the demigods looked on, he entered the transcendental world to become an associate of Lord Sankarshan. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained when Indra was inside the body of Vritrasura, then what happened. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Indra, not Vritrasura, was actually killed. He says that when Vritrasura swallowed King Indra and his carrier, the elephant, he thought, now I have killed Indra, and therefore there is no more need of fighting. Now let me return home back to Godhead. Thus he stopped all his bodily activities and became situated in trance. Taking advantage of the silence of Vritrasura's body, Indra pierced the demon's abdomen, and because of Vritrasura's trance, Indra was able to come out. Now Vritrasura was in Yoga Samadhi, and therefore although King Indra wanted to cut his throat, the demon's neck was so stiff, and so stiff because of he was in the Yoga Samadhi. So stiff that Indra's thunderbolt took 360 days to cut it to pieces. Actually, it was the body left by Vritrasura that was cut to pieces by Indra. Vritrasura himself was not killed. In his original consciousness, Vritrasura returned home back to Godhead to become an associate of Lord Sankarshan. Here the words Alokam means a transcendental world, Vaikuntha Loka, where Sankarshan eternally resides. So that's Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given another import of this, what exactly happened. So Vritrasura, when he swallowed Indra, he went into Yoga Samadhi, he went into trance. He said, okay, no more fighting now. And in that Samadhi, when he was in Yoga Samadhi, means he had already left his body. And Indra just cut off the neck of the dead body. And Vritrasura was, he just went back. That means the soul went back to Vaikuntha Loka. So thus ends the 12th chapter, and tomorrow we'll start the new chapter and see anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is a very interesting story for children also. They
Oh,
like
yeah.
such stories, no?
Oh, yeah. Fighting and this and that, big demon. So many twists and turns in this story.
Just now I said, Prithu, I will narrate you a very good story of Vritrasura,
Okay.
how he was killed.
But there is still more to come. I mean, of course, Vritrasura is gone, but who became Vritrasura? How he became Vritrasura? Maharaj Chitraketu becomes Vritrasura. So there's still so many chapters on this topic. So that's why Bhagavatam has everything, whatever we want. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Thank you.
Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.